Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is Christopher Aaron. It is the 8th of March 2017, and I do want to thank you for joining me this evening. There is a strong possibility of a Fed rate hike this time next week. This would be the third rate hike in the last 10 years, so this is significant. Furthermore, we will be looking at the possibility of silver retesting the important downtrend break that we saw this time last week. Let us put that all into perspective. You'll have to excuse me if my voice sounds a little bit hoarse here, a little bit rough. I am dealing with some allergies at this moment. I hope that what I'm able to say comes through clearly. Looking at the price action in the metals here to start over the last 3 days. Looking at gold first, weakness coming back just above 1200 in gold. Gold is looking a lot less clear to me technically oriented than silver is. So for that reason, we are going to focus on silver in the later part of this presentation. Silver coming right back down to a very important pivot point that I've been watching here around 1720, 1725. Let's see if this holds up over the course of the next week. I expect an important low is forming here in silver at any time now. Now, looking at gold first, just briefly. Last week, Janet Yellen, the chairwoman of the U.S. Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, gave a speech in Chicago in which she strongly hinted that the Fed would be raising interest rates next week. So how can we make sense of this if you are a precious metals investor? Let us look at the first Fed rate hikes and how they have impacted the price of gold here. Mind you, these are the first Fed rate hikes in 10 years. So if you've been a precious metals investor for 5 years or 3 years, or you've just started stacking, you have not seen the metals yet in a rising rate hike environment. So that's what we're looking at now. The first Fed rate hikes in 10 years. The first rate hike came in mid to late 2015. It was 0.25 percentage point. And look at where it coincided with the price action in gold here. Very closely to the absolute lows that we saw in gold. After the rate hike was announced, you had this rise out of the low over the next 6 months. The second rate hike was last December. Once again, the second rate hike in 10 years, another of 0.25 percentage point, coinciding very closely here within about 3 days of the low of this move down in the precious metals. Okay, the rate hike announced and then gold rebounding strongly. So, if the news is to be believed, if Janet Yellen was telegraphing her intentions accurately, and we have another rate hike brewing here this time next week, if this coincides with another low, relative low in the precious metals, we will be looking at a series of 1, 2, 3 rate hikes and 3 higher lows forming in the price of gold, from which I expect a continued rise similar to the last 2 rate hikes. And we're getting very close to an important technical battle that will be happening here in gold around the 1300 region. I'll save that analysis for the premium subscribers. So let us look at silver. As I said, silver is behaving on a technical basis more precise in my mind than gold is. The important thing to keep in mind here in silver as we bring up this guy, our handy little key here, is that silver has been in this declining primary trend for the last 6 months, and we've had this breakout here in early February. And I said last week that at any point I was expecting a decline to retest this breakout, and I believe that is what we are seeing right now. This is probably going to scare investors and short-term traders away right before the retest occurs and we see a rebound in the price of silver. and then a new high made above this 1850 region. Now, the high did occur about 25 or 30 cents less than my original target, which was 1875. So we notice here the price came to around 1850, slightly less than my target. As always, these technical targets are targets only. They are not a final be-all end-all, this is what will happen. This is a best assessment analysis based on the probabilities given with the patterns that are in play. So we had a fairly accurate call here on silver. I was looking at 1875. We came up to 1850, and now we are seeing the retest of this trend here. I believe silver is going to be finding support here in the 1725 region. Could there be a spike lower for a day or two back to around 1680 or so to retest this trend line? Absolutely, and then we rebound. Let's watch very closely. The point is, silver seems to be leading gold at this juncture, which is rare and which is a positive thing for the precious metals as a whole. However, I will say this action has gotten so volatile that it will absolutely be scaring investors away at just the time that silver is getting ready to make a more important move. Backing this out, you can see how insignificant this little correction is in the grand scheme of things. Guys, if you can't handle the volatility in the precious metals right now, that's not a fault against you personally, but I would say you might be better off investing in a savings account or in some bonds, some sort of a paper investment, because we've seen this volatility here with silver from $14 to $21 back down to 15 or so, and this little move that we're watching right now. Just get ready. If this volatility is too much for you, get ready for what's going to happen when you're talking about silver approaching 25 here. Silver approaching 38 and 40. And then can we even fathom silver making a new high and this level here at $50 acting at support? I'm not predicting that this year, but perhaps 3 or 4 years from now, you could be looking at silver moving from $50 up to 85, back down to 65. My goodness, the volatility is going to be something to behold. So I'd say if you're in this market, really understand what's going on here. There is a major opportunity, but the price to pay is the volatility that is happening right here and right now. Thank you very much for watching. All of the signals for physical gold and silver that I'm watching, as well as the mining equities, individual companies, buy and sell signals that are extremely volatile, goes out every week in premium research to my subscriber base. I also work with a select number of individuals on a one-to-one basis, either by voice or by email. We usually do that in a consultation over Skype or by phone for those individuals who want an independent perspective on their situation. I take no funds from any of the companies or any of the funds that I profile in this research. I am looking out for the best interest of my subscribers to the best of my ability. Thank you once again for watching. I will see you this time next week.